Hey there, Tech Moms. If you have made it this far, I'm really proud of you. We are just about there. We are on step 5, which is to create charts and build out a dashboard. So, step 1 says for each pivot table, create a chart next to it that visually represents the data. It's up to you to decide what chart will convey the data the best. Then we're supposed to review the annual report to make a list of what was reported last year and what we should report on this year. We're going to add another tab called Dashboard, copy and paste the charts we've made, and put it in that dashboard. So let's jump into our day spreadsheet here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is honestly just start throwing charts on here. I'm actually going to save this first, make sure. And the way that we make a chart is we highlight the cells that we want to show. A lot of times when you make these cells or make these charts, you're not necessarily going to include the entire chart in it. Otherwise the chart can get messed up. So I'm going to highlight the cells that I want. I'm going to insert a chart, and you can either click recommended charts to see what will pop up and what it would recommend. In this case, the intelligence of Excel is suggesting, hey, probably a column chart would make the most sense. So let's go ahead and do a clustered column chart. Hit OK. And there it's going to drop for me a graph that is based on this pivot table. So you'll notice it brought over my filter, which is really handy. Say, for example, I wanted to switch and see someone that was on the wait list. And I go, okay, cool. I've got a lot of women on my wait list who didn't have a job. And then maybe I could switch. I'm just going to switch back just for the sake. Okay. Now, if I don't want to include blank, the way that you can exclude that is by dropping down to where it says employment status. I can click blank, turn off blank, hit OK, and it will drop it out of my pivot table as well as my chart. So the way that you can customize the way that it looks is you can click on the plus here. So say I want to adjust axis titles. I think it's helpful to have an axis title. I can add or remove that. I can go in and turn on or off the axis, which I don't know why you would need to turn them off. Otherwise, you have no idea what you're looking at. Some ways that you can customize this is, say, for example, I think it's a little cluttered to have the axis on the vertical side. I can just turn off just vertical. If I just need to see like a quick view of what I'm looking at. Okay, I can't remember what I was saying. I paused it to just regroup for a second. But let's look at the different features that we can change in here. So it's going to be more visually impactful if we can sort these from smallest to largest. So what we can do is we can right click on one of our data bars. We're going to click sort and we'll do smallest to largest, and that will show us the least number of applicants, the smallest amount up to the largest category. So it looks like the most women we have is employed full-time with 35 plus hours, followed by not working outside the home, and then so on and so forth. Something I'm going to do in here that I think would be valuable is maybe we turn on data labels. So it's giving me a preview of what's going to happen, but maybe I could turn that on. If I click on this little right caret, it shows me maybe where I want that to show up. So it could show up in the center of the bars. We could change the font color. We could do inside. We could do it at the base. We could do a call out where it shows me both the like the label and the value. Now that looks kind of messy to me, so I'm not going to do that, but just know that's an option if you want to customize. I think what I'm going to do is just leave it on the outside end where I can then see those numbers and just get a really quick view of the number of applicants in each of those groups. Something else I might want to turn off is this legend where it's showing me the total. I don't really need that there. And then I can do here, this is employment status. This is the title, sorry. Employment status of applicants. Oops. Okay. And there we have kind of our first graph that we're going to build out in Excel. So it's a little bit different than the way that it's shown in Google Sheets. So just be aware of that. There's the best way to figure out where things live, in my experience, is to click around and figure out what works. So you can come to this plus sign and that will show you the different options that are available. Not everything is going to be valuable. Showing an error bar in this case is not going to be helpful. You can add a data table. That's when you make that kind of that design decision of what's messy and what's actually valuable. You can go in and you can change the different colors. If you want this to show up, I don't know, purple, you can go in and change it there. There is this thing that pops down here where it's like, how do I change these colors? If you wanted to customize to the Tech Moms colors, follow that process and you can change, you can add a Tech Moms theme. I'll do that probably a little bit later, but this is where you can go in and you can adjust those colors. For now, I'm just going to settle with purple. Okay, for some of our other charts, a helpful thing to decide what I want to put on my dashboard might be jumping in and looking at the annual report. So I'm actually just open this in a, oh, it won't let me open it in a new tab. That's fine. Okay, so let's jump into the annual report and just look quick and see kind of what they have on there. In looking at the finalized, oh, I scrolled way too far. All right, so education level. Upon entering Tech Moms, this is a pie chart. That's kind of a helpful thing. Maybe I want to add a pie chart in. I've got children supported, household income, win of color, and so on. So maybe I want to mimic and either do the same thing or I do something similar. We did talk about in class that this is a little difficult to read just because there's so many different categories. So maybe we want to aggregate those down. And in looking at Allison's, that is something that we do at least with our employment statuses. So let's jump back in. And because we're on employment status already, let's just see if we can't make that aggregate real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add kind of a title to what I'm doing. So I'm doing a group by of, we'll do part-time, full-time, and not employed. Okay. Make that bold so it's clear what I'm working on. And then in this group, I'm going to have, let's see, employment status. And then I'm going to have account. And I'll make this bigger so we can actually see it. Make these bold so we know that those are headers. And the statuses I have, I'm going to have part-time, full-time, and not employed. Okay. The count of this is going to equal the sum of all those that are part-time. So employed almost full-time would fall in that category. So I'm going to add this, comma, and you'll see here I got number 1, and then I'm going to number 2, and employed part-time. Close parentheses, enter. I've got 153 that are part-time. This is going to equal I could do a sum again, but I don't need to because I don't have that many categories. So employed full-time, I have here, hit enter. Then I have this equals to not employed, hit enter. And there I have an aggregated kind of ad hoc pseudo pivot table. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab these values now. I'm going to insert a pie chart. Okay. And here you can see, I'll just force that to drag over. I've got this cute little pie chart that is, and it's highlight, when you click on this, it's going to highlight and show you what rows it's looking at. Okay. So let's customize this a little bit. We are looking at employment status. Let me change that title. Employment status. Oops, hit click off. Okay. We're actually like pretty evenly split, which is kind of surprising. But I think it's a little tricky to read a pie chart when I have to match up these colors, especially with how small the legend is. Now, I can jump in and I can customize the legend. I can put it on the right, put it on the top, put it on the left. But it's not necessarily my favorite in terms of visualization. So I'm actually just going to turn that legend off. And what I'm going to do instead is turn on my data labels. Now I'm going to need this it defaults to best fit, like where it thinks it's going to fit best. But I want it to call out the data that exists for that field. I'm going to have to make this just a little bit bigger, I'm thinking. Go back in here, we'll go to data labels, and I'm looking for inside, center, what do I like? Outside, best fit. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not in love with it, but outside end is probably what's going to make the most sense. And this is showing, let's see, employment status of applicants. Okay. And we're going to see if I can't change the colors to another theme. Again, I'll show in a minute how we get the Tech Moms theme in there. But yeah, this is how you would make kind of an aggregated chart based on this other set of data. And what's nice about this is because this is based off of these fields in the pivot table, if these adapt or change, it will update this dynamically. So, all right. Okay, let's go on to the next section. So I showed this in the pivot table setup videos, but let's go ahead and grab my brain. Sorry, you guys. We're going to jump in here and highlight these cells, and we are going to create we're going to insert a chart. And let's go ahead and do, I don't know if I love that one. So again, you can either hit recommended chart and it will show you different suggestions that you can use. Or what you can do is you can just select the one that you want. I'm going to just mimic what Allison has on her dashboard for the sake of clarity. But this would be a cute little bar chart. That depicts household income based on our different binned our binned categories. So I'm going to title this household income. And then I can see that starting at 100K down, this is kind of the different groupings. Again, we can go and customize. Maybe I want to turn on access titles. Maybe I want to turn on data labels to get exact values or exact numbers. Something that's pretty sneaky that I kind of want to show you is, say, for example, all right, this is showing me count, but maybe count isn't the most meaningful to my users. They actually want to see a percent of grand total. What's actually kind of cool is when you, so I click off of this, nothing's selected, but if you click onto your chart, it's going to show you which cells are being used to create said chart. So what you can actually do is you can drag your selections over, and what you'll notice is that my x-axis changed from, instead of like a count, instead of a count, it's a percent of grand total. So it looks basically the same, but it's just different values that show up there. So kind of a nifty little trick when you're trying to adjust your charts quickly. Okay, for the last part of this video, I want to show how step 5, where we're creating charts and building a dashboard, and just a little bit of some of making it aesthetic for step 6. So I'm going to jump back to my spreadsheet here, and I'm going to create one more tab, or excuse me, one more sheet at the very bottom. I'm going to name this something like demographic dashboard. You can just name it dashboard, whatever your heart so desires. And I'm actually going to click and drag this over to the front here, just because it's kind of the all-encompassing summary. I want it towards the front. So I'm going to jump into pivot tables. I'm actually going to drag pivot tables over as well. And I'm going to grab my first chart, Control C, jump to demographic dashboard, and find the cell where I want to drop it. I think I'm going to drop it a little bit lower. And I will fill this in, make it a little bit bigger. Come in and grab this chart. Now, this doesn't necessarily make no sense to put these both on the same chart, but this is roughly the process that you're going to follow. Okay, let's make those the same size as best we can. And I'm going to also grab this household income chart. Control C. And, you know, for the sake of clarity, I'm going to move this down here. And this is just kind of the process when you're doing the design of the dashboard, is deciding where you want to put the elements, like what makes the most sense. Okay, so I'm going to drag this here. Maybe make this a little bit bigger. Again, I'm just trying to mimic the final result that that Allison had, but you should do what makes sense with the data that you've pulled in. So for clarity's sake, I'm trying to do it similar to the way that she had done it, but please feel like you can customize this and make it unique to the questions that you asked. Okay? Okay, now one other question that I got a lot for the Excel users was, how do I get the scorecard into Excel? And the answer is you can't. There isn't like a built-in chart that is a scorecard for Excel. However, we can sort of customize it ourselves and create one. So let me show you how to do that. First things first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a title. So I'm going to do insert, and we'll go a text box. I can click and drag for however big I want that to be. I'm going to go student demographics. Graphics. Okay, I'm going to increase my font size. I want that to show up centered. And there I have a quick title. So let's go into making a scorecard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop back over to my pivot tables. And I know that a value that mattered a lot to leadership, for example, was a percent of applicants whose incomes were less than 50K. So this is going to be a really important value that I want to grab. So what I'm going to do is pick somewhere on your table where you want your like scorecard or KPI is what this is called, is a key performance indicator. Where we want, I'm going to call it a KPI because scorecard doesn't exist in Excel. So where do I want my KPI to live? I'm just going to pick a general location. I'll show you what I'll do to format it. So I'm going to hit equals, and I'm going to go back to pivot tables and say I want it to equal this percent of grand total. I'm going to hit enter, and you'll see that if I click here, this is showing me the exact reference where I would find that value. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want that to take up a little bit more space. I want it to take up a few cells of space. So I'm going to highlight the cells where I want it to live, and then up on your ribbon, there's this alignment section. You can actually click merge and center. There's lots of different merge options, but we're going to click merge and center to combine our cells. So we're going to merge that. Now I'm showing up at the bottom of my box. So what I want to do is come back up here, and this is alignment for, there's either top align, which would look like this. I have middle align for the middle and bottom align. I want it to middle align. I'm going to make that text. Oops. This shows up in Excel if it's too big for the number of cells that you've given it. Okay, so I'm going to decrease that back down. Looks like that's our size. And then to add a title to this, you just need to add it above here. So I'm going to merge these cells, merge and center, and I'm going to add that this is my household income that's less than 50K. All right. Come back here, let's do some beautifying as best as we can in Excel. Now, if you're feeling frustrated about this whole process in Excel, it's because Excel is not necessarily the best visualization tool. Microsoft literally built other visualization tools like Power BI for visualization purposes. But if you needed to make one, this is kind of the process that you'd follow, okay? So let's go ahead and let's pick a cute color. Let's say I like this one. I want to make this font a little bit bigger. Let's make it bold. And let's go ahead and add, if I highlight both of those cells together, so it like looks like it's better, it's grouped better, I can click there, and then under my font, on the home ribbon under the font section, I can click, and these all kinds of border options. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say I want thick outside borders, and there you can see I have that kind of grouped together. Now I kind of like that distinction where it shows my border, so I'm actually just going to go and see if I can't add. Let's see, chart design. Will this let me add a border? Yeah, so I'm going to come, so this is the same way that you would like format a shape, is that you come to this format. You have to be selected on your chart. Come over here to format. Let's do shape outline, and we're going to do a semi-thick border, and we got to change the color. So our shape color, let's say black, and there I can add a border to my charts as well. So let me do it on this one as well. So you click here, come, if it defaults to a different spot, come over to the format tab on the ribbon. We're going to click shape outline. We're going to click a color, and then we're going to make it a larger weight. Okay, that kind of, as you can see how this is coming together now. It looks a little bit better if we can turn off all of the grid lines. So the way that you can do that is by jumping in your ribbon over to view, and under show, you can turn off your grid lines. Now, they still exist. All those individual cells will still exist, but this just makes it a little bit of a better view. It focuses in your audience on the actual charts that you built rather than getting distracted by the clutter of all those cells. Okay. So that's kind of the process that you'll follow. It's not necessarily my favorite way to do things, but it is the way that you'll want to do things for class. Okay, one final thing, if we're gonna like polish off our dashboard, is I'm gonna go and grab the Tech Moms logo that Tiff included in our 2024 fall data Slack. I'm gonna copy that image. I'm gonna come into one of my cells. I'm going to paste it in. And you're gonna see nothing showed up if you just do a default paste. But if you click these settings to do like a paste special, you can say paste picture in cell. And there it is, all itty bitty. What I can do is I can grab all the cells where I want this to live, and I can say merge and center. And there we have our Tech Moms logo. So this is kind of the process that you'll follow to build out the dashboard portion in Excel. It's a lot more clicks. It's not as smooth or as pretty, but again, Excel was not Microsoft's decided visualization tool of 2024. So just bear that in mind as you build this out. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the best thing that you've ever created. This is just really good practice for building out a dashboard. To get these colors to be the way that you want, what we're going to do is we're going to have to create a default theme for this to follow. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to page layout. And honestly, you guys, I did not know how to do this until I paused this recording and ChatGPT'd it and then figured it out. So just to be really clear, this isn't necessarily the most intuitive thing, and it's fine if you have to look it up. Okay. So we're going to come over here to page layout. And this is where you can choose a different theme. So these are default themes that are set up by Microsoft in Excel. So if this is just something, hey, I'm going to jump in there and just do what I need to do to make it look prettier than the default, then that's something you can do. You can browse for themes. You could save what you have as a current theme. But what I would suggest we do is we jump over to colors, and we are actually going to come down to customize colors. And what this does is it shows me, all right, so the text / background, I'm going to do dark. I left this one alone. We could do text background light, sure. Light 1, dark 2, light 2. I would just leave those the same. You don't need to get too super crazy. But for our accent one, what we're going to do is we'll come and click the drop down caret, go to more colors, and then thankfully Marianne pasted the hex codes for the Tech Moms colors, and I'm going to come in and paste these in here, hit enter, and I have that color saved. So we'll do it again. And you got to go through and you got to change all of the what's the language? All of these accent colors, because Excel is going to default grab these colors for building out your charts. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's because I have a space at the front. Hit OK. Now we don't have a ton of color options, but I am going to go and change accents 4, 5, and 6. And thankfully, now that we have used those colors before, I can go in and just use them to get all the colors in that I want to. So I'm going to give this theme a name, and I'm going to call this Tech Moms brand colors. Hit save, and as you can see, it automatically defaults and adjusts the theme of those colors to the colors that we're looking for. This one did not automatically change, but that's okay. I can come in, and now that I have those themes colors saved, when I go to change my colors, I can change this to Tech Mom's colors. And that is kind of the process. So go in, find the KPIs that matter the most to leadership, add those across the top. It's going to take some finagling and adjusting. But remind yourself, this is not the best tool for visualizations. It's okay. But this is how you're going to build out that dashboard. If you guys have any questions, I know that this is a lot all at once. So please feel free to reach out to Allison or I. Actually, if it's Excel, reach out to me because Allison doesn't have Excel on her computer. So reach out to me and happy to walk you through any of the steps that that you need to get your dashboard looking the way that we want it. Thanks.